the Wellness for Life program, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker today, Leslie Villelli.
Hi.
Leslie's here today to talk to us about the science and art of being happy on purpose.
As opposed to accident.
Accidentally, I had a staff member who said, well, I certainly wouldn't want to be happy on accident, so be happy on purpose. So as part of the curriculum for our Wellness for Life, you know that we have given various presentations throughout the year. We've had some nutrition presentations, exercise presentations, stress reduction presentations. This is kind of the culmination of everything in the Happy on Purpose. If you can apply these principles today, and I can speak to this because I was just at the seminar right before here, I think that you will know that this will make a huge difference for you. So Leslie has a very eclectic and interesting background. She has, amongst a variety of things, done a few highlights that I'd like to share with you. She's run in 4 marathons over the years. She's been named Businesswoman of the Year in Spokane twice, not just once, but twice. She's run a multi-million-dollar corporation, and she's also carried batteries for Sears. So she's very well-rounded. She's been a life coach for 30 years, and just in the last 4 years has become a happiness coach. She has 7 grandchildren that range in ages from 20 down to 3. And in addition to this program today, she is offering, as part of the entire package, some personal sessions tomorrow, small group coaching sessions that are an hour apiece. After the program, Noelle is going to have a sign-up sheet for that. We still have lots of spots available. And Leslie will share more about that with you as she goes here today. And in addition to that, she also has some webinars that we are going to have free access to at the end of this. There are going to be 4 different webinars, so that this isn't the only time you're going to hear this. You're going to have a chance to apply what you learn and talk with your friends about it and make it part of your everyday life.
Yeah, because if I only flossed my teeth once when I was 23, probably not going to make that big a difference to my teeth. But if I do it every day, it makes a huge difference.
That's right. So with that, we're very proud to be able to present Leslie Villelli to you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me, Carrie, but also thank you for how much you care about your people. You notice she always goes above and beyond. She's very sweet to be around you. These are some of my people. This is Allison. She's a certified happiness coach. And this is Graham. He's also a certified happiness coach. And they're here. You pick their brains. They've been practicing this for a year or so. And so if you have any questions about somebody who's actually applied it, they're the people to ask. They'll be here tomorrow, too. I really encourage you to come back for whatever amount of time you can spend in those groups. Let's just jump right in, okay? Will everybody just raise their right hand and make a fist? And then pull your elbow down and say yes.
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 Yes. Other hand. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Okay. We did it. We changed our brain chemistry. Believe it or not, it is so much easier to be happy on purpose than we have been led to believe. It's not that complicated. We are reality thought-producing machines, and we can affect our own physiology and biology much faster and easier than we may have thought. Today, we're going to be talking about some science, biology, physics, and metaphysics. We're going to talk about, that's the science. We're going to talk about the art of being happy, which has to do with our ability to vision, to imagine, to use that most recently evolved part of our anatomy, the frontal lobe, that thing that separates us from all other species. Did you know it's not our opposable thumbs or the size of our brains? You know, elephants have bigger brains than we do. It's literally our ability to vision, to imagine a future. And then we're going to talk about the purpose, being happy on purpose. The Dalai Lama has actually said that happiness is our highest purpose and our most neglected one. And that our happiness, you'll see scientific evidence for how our individual happiness affects the whole of the world. I used to think that my focusing on, probably not the last time I'm going to do because I do that a lot. I used to think that focusing on my own happiness was selfish, but it turns out it's exactly the opposite. That my joy is my biggest gift to the world. Science, art, and purpose. So those are, in a nutshell, that's what we're going to do today. I want to thank you ahead of time. First, I want to thank you for being here. And then I want to thank you ahead of time for being curious. Because being curious is what actually leads us to new things. And then I also want to thank you for your willingness to try on what I'm about to offer. Because if you've ever purchased any clothing, you know that only by trying it on can you know if it fits you or not. So I'm not asking you to believe anything I say. I'm literally going to offer some things, and then you can try them on and see what fits you and see what you want to keep and see what you don't. Fair enough? It's a deal? All right. Also, I'm not the kind of speaker who has memorized everything. I'm with Einstein. Einstein said, never try to remember something you can simply look up. So I'm going to be going back and forth to my notes, because I would rather check my notes and make sure you get everything than rely on my memory to make sure that you get everything. Oh, and throughout the day, actually I do need a volunteer. It's a very benign job. It's a sweet little job. Who wants to volunteer? Thank you. So here's your job. Whenever I say we're going to do an exercise, you just play these chimes in whatever sequence or order you want to play them in. Okay. What's your name?
Marcia.
Marcia, you get a prize for being a volunteer.
Oh, fun.
There's more prizes. Participation always gets prizes. Okay. The exercises that we're going to do are super simple and super powerful and effective. Easy. Easy to remember, easy to do, and very, very effective. So the neck, oh, I've got a clicker now. Ta-da. First point I want to make is that our happiness is natural to us. We are built to thrive. Just like walking was natural to us, even though we didn't always do it, we somehow knew that it was part of who we are and that we would eventually do it. And we are always drawn to happiness. Do you notice that you don't get up in the morning and say, oh, I hope I get to suffer today? Aren't you always kind of hoping you're going to be happy? Like that's the direction we go in. It's built in. And I already said it matters to the whole world that we do that. I coach a lot of people, a lot of couples in communication. And so I want to make sure that when I say happiness, you're hearing what I say. Do you notice how in communication sometimes that doesn't happen? We say things and they don't hear what we meant. So for today, happiness is not that yellow smiley face. Happiness is not positive thinking. Happiness is not constant pleasure. What I'm going to use for, well, there's a really wonderful man, he's a noted interpersonal neurobiologist. His name is Dan Siegel, you might have heard of him. He defines happiness as the full integration of our systems, leaving us with a sense of well-being. But then Martin Seligman, who's been called the father of modern positive psychology, says that happiness has three components. Comfort, our bodies are taken care of. A positive outlook for the future, and an experience of mattering, of making a difference. Okay? Now, I could go on because there's hundreds of definitions of what happiness is. But the truth is that you and I in this room, we already know. We know when we're experiencing happiness, and we know when we're not. And so for today, happiness is not the exclusion of any emotions. It's actually the ability to include them all. So we're not trying to get to a certain feeling and then stay there, because if there's any cardiologists in the room, and you probably already know this, but if a cardiologist is looking at a heart and it's doing the same thing all the time, that is not good. We are energy in motion. We are malleable beings. We are literally a work in progress all the time. We're not looking for a constant way of being. Let me see if I said everything. So when I talk about happiness today, I'm going to refer to it in a slightly different way, not as a thing that's going to happen, but as a verb. It's not a noun, it's a verb. It's something we do. It's always an option, by the way. But today we're going to talk about it in terms of how to produce it on purpose. First, it's an option. Always an option. We're going to do an exercise. Beautiful. All right, so I'm going to stop talking for 10 seconds. And what I'm going to ask you to do is look around the room, and every time you see the color red, point to it and say red.
Red.
Go.
Red. What's red?
Okay, stop. Good job. Did you see some red? Okay, we're going to do it for another 10 seconds. Look for more red. Sure, you want to do it again? She's like, oh, can I do it again? Now we're going to look at around the room and look for red again. More red and different red. Go.
Red.
Oh, red.
Red.
Okay.
No, or strawberry.
Thank you. Did you see some more red? Yeah. All right. What just happened? We didn't put red there just by looking for it, did we? It was always there. And it wasn't part of our life experience, except when we went to look for it, there it was. What if happiness is like that? What if it's always there? It's just that we're not looking for it. Maybe we're looking for something else. Where we put our focus has everything to do with how happy we are. You already knew that, right? So I'm talking literally about a paradigm shift. About, you know that list you have of things that you'll be happy after they happen? Yes? You know that list, huh? And one of the things on that list of was on my happiness list was, oh, I'm happy, but I can't really be happy until everybody else is happy. Anybody else have that? Like you won't let yourself be happy because someone you love isn't happy? Huh? That's on the list. Happiness is always an option. And if we choose that option consistently, it becomes a habit. And then it becomes a trait, and then a skill, and then it becomes a way of being. And then when it's our way of being, all of life looks different. Because we are bringing our happiness to life instead of trying to get our happiness from life. That's the paradigm shift. Now, any paradigm shift, it's always more comfortable to be living in the familiar. But it's a little constricting, as you can see. So having the freedom to be out of the familiar is wonderful, but it's also a little scary. Because if you leave here today, or you do that webinar series and then you are like happy, and you go down, if you're doing your maintenance work out there, or you're walking down the halls of the hospital or out in the streets and you're going, I'm so happy! Oh gosh, I love being alive. Do you know how many amazing things I got done today? What are people going to do? They will. We live in a culture that does not reward the expression of happiness. Yes. That's the paradigm shift that human beings are in the midst of right now. Would you put both hands up now? And say, ta-da! Ta-da! Do it again. Ta-da! 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 I got up today. Ta-da! Doesn't that feel good? Do you know how many ta-das we pass up on a regular basis? Because we do them all the time. We don't give ourselves the ta-das. And yet, did you feel that? It feels good. Ta-da! I ate my lunch. Ta-da! I didn't make my bed. Feels good. So we're going to start with the science today. Thoughts become things. Everything we see in here was a thought. We didn't always have clocks. We didn't always have video cameras. We definitely didn't always have little clickers. Everything that we are experiencing that we can see, hear, touch, taste, smell was once a thought. And we are reality producing machines. Why? Because we're doing the thinking. And thoughts become things. So whatever reality we have is being produced by our thoughts. We have 65,000 per day. The trouble is 97% of them are the same ones we had yesterday. We're looking for that 3%. We're looking how to produce brand new thoughts. That's where the art comes in. I'm not the first one to say this. I won't be the last. The mystics have been saying it forever, and science is now catching up to prove that what they've been saying all this time is actually true. So Buddha said it, we are what we think, all that we are arises from our thoughts. Paul said, focus on what's good and right and lovely, you'll be better off for it. Now, I don't think he knew it at the time, but maybe. He was literally pointing to the first law of physics. Remember I said we talk about some biology and some physics and some metaphysics. The first law of physics is what you give energy to increases. So if there's something that's not working in your life, something you have a complaint about, if you think about it, talk about it, get agreement for it, it increases in your experience. If there's something that's going well, and you talk about that, and you think about that, it increases in your experience. Carrie was talking about they did this research project where they had people, before they go to bed at night, just write down 3 things that went well that day, and they had them do it for 6 weeks. And then they kept using their same measures in that double-blind study. Oh, hi, Rick. You're here. Come on in. Do you know where you are? Everybody say yes. Yes! Right on, dude. You're here. Okay. They had them do it for 6 weeks, and then they measured the effects. The happiness effects lasted 6 months. Just from that simple write down 3 things that went well today before you go to bed. It's so much simpler than we thought it was going to be. We can do it, get in the habit of it really fast. Okay, we have 2 nervous systems, sympathetic and parasympathetic. When they're balanced, we're good. Sometimes, though, the sympathetic gets too stimulated, and then you all know we have the fight, flight, or freeze response. When we have that response, whether the threat is perceived or real, we still get the same chemicals. And those chemicals numb that part of our brain that we need for creativity, communication, collaboration. This is an awesome system for us to have. We needed it when there were woolly mammoths coming to the entrance to our cave. Because we had to tell, to survive, we had to know, should I poke it with a stick? Should I run away? Should I play dead? seen any woolly mammoths lately? No. So what was once highly adaptive has become maladaptive, because now we turn on that fight, flight, freeze response for some really not quite woolly mammoth reasons. Like the other day, I turned it on because the copier wasn't going fast enough. Right? Copies are not a life-threatening happening, but it felt like it. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Like when you just get it. Yeah. So when that happens, it numbs the part of our brain where happiness lives, where we can produce happiness. So the first thing that we want to learn to do to be happy on purpose is how to interrupt the fight or flight response. And I know Carrie mentioned you've had some stress reduction classes, okay? It's really very simple. We're going to do a group exercise. Okay, it's very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to, together, all together, we're going to sing the word ah. You don't have to worry about if you can't sing. Nobody's going to hear you, because we're all going to do it. When we all do it, nobody can hear each other, okay? I can't sing, but this is how it's going to sound like. No, not like that. Play around with it. Just make your own ah noises. Ready? Here we go. Very nice.
Your face, you didn't like it very well, did you?
Oh, this is a perfect example. So she saw something in my face. This is fast thinking. This is so great. She saw something in my face and she's laughing because she thought I didn't like it. What was it that I didn't like?
You didn't put enough energy into it, maybe.
Thank you. It's the maybe that changes the world.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I could be wrong, but.
Okay.
it's just-
Oh, you get a prize for that. Oh. You so get a prize for that. Oh, it's such a good example of what this whole thing is about today. Fast thinking. Fast thinking brain takes in 20 million bits of information per second. Second. From our eyes, our ears, our nose, our skin. Oh my gosh. And our consciousness can only handle about 50. So that fast thinking that just happened here, it has to edit. It associates with everything we've ever known. Someone maybe made that same face. It wasn't even the whole face. It could have been part of my mouth. Seriously, that's how it does. It associates with everything. It edits, and then it produces a picture of reality for us. You didn't think that thought. It happened so fast, you didn't even know it was happening. I'm going to show you a video about that in a little bit. But I get ahead of myself. So happiness comes from what we think about reality, not reality itself. In reality, what's your name?
Lori.
Lori. In reality, what was happening for me, while Lori thought I wasn't happy, was I was feeling my solar plexus relax. Because that's what ah does for me. So do you see how unreal our reality can be sometimes? This is a video that illustrates how strongly our fast thinking produces reality for us, even if it isn't reality itself. This fast thinking brain that I keep talking about, It's the most amazing parallel processor ever. The most sophisticated computers we have can't even scratch the surface of what this can do. 20 million bits of information per second, edited, audited, cut, sliced, figured out, and presented in the time, so fast we can't even be aware of it. That's amazing. So in this video, let's just watch it, and then we'll talk about it.
Brain scans reveal many parts of the brain operating outside our conscious awareness.
Can you hear it?
We are the product of numerous daily interactions. And the quest to understand the essence of who we are has revealed something fascinating going on inside our heads. Something none of us are ever aware of. I can show you what I mean with a famous visual illusion. It's called the Ames room. That is so bizarre. Clearly, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a very, very tall person over there and a short person over there. And when they swap over, there's a moment where my brain just goes clunk. I absolutely know this is an illusion, but my brain just won't let me see through the illusion. So how's it done? Well, if you come over this way, it's really obvious. Hi there. Thank you. Okay, so essentially the room really dips down here, lots of space above my head. There is a sharply sloping floor. As I march up, the room begins to narrow until I'm really crunched into the corner. There's very little space between the ground and the top here, and that's how the illusion is created. Essentially, the room is a trapezoid. The Ames room shows us something very important about how the brain is working.
Okay, what just happened? You know it's a trapezoid, right? What do you see?
Square.
Fast thinking. Fast thinking changed it back. Based on the rules, based on how rooms are. See, it uses the most familiar, the most often, the most long-term to associate with. Let's see what happens next.
Part of my brain which knows the rules of a room. It has assumptions, models built in there, and it knows, based on experience, that normally rooms, the ceiling and the floor is parallel, and that the walls are at right angle. From one particular viewpoint, the room looks like it fits that mental model. And the brain has such a powerful belief that this quirky shaped room is normal, that people appear to have changed size. This illusion reveals something fundamental about how the brain works. Our perception of reality is not just based on what is out there, but it is also partially constructed. We have these models running in our head, and they are constantly being tested against the evidence of our senses. This process of building models in our heads is happening from the moment we are born. This child is using her senses to find out about the world. Is that person in the mirror another baby, or is it me? Why does that thing make a noise when I shake it? What she's doing is constantly learning by testing everything around her. Thousands of little experiments like these will create her unconscious assumptions. They'll build the models that shape her view of the world. That's how she will be able to make her way through life. It is very charming when you think that in a way what she's doing now is acting rather like a mini scientist. She's investigating the world, she's forming her theories, her hypotheses, and she's testing them against reality. And that, in a sense, is what science is. And it's going on inside each and every one of us from the moment we are born. Is that right, Chloe? Is that right? It is.
Can you sort of feel how innocent she is? She's just gathering information and drawing conclusions, and she doesn't even know she's doing it. Raise your hand if you were a baby once. In that time, when you were gathering the associations that your fast thinking now uses to tell you what reality is, you didn't know what you were doing. It was happening. You were just being a scientist. Now, let's imagine that Chloe's mom is just off to the side there a little bit. She's fixing dinner, and she looks over and she sees Chloe playing. Did that just get louder? Anyway, let's just say she looks over and sees Chloe playing with the yellow rattle, and then she has a picture thought of the dog burying the yellow rattle in the garden that just got fertilized yesterday. So what does she do? She says, Chloe, honey, don't play with the yellow one, it's yucky. So now Chloe's a scientist. What's she going to do with that information? Well, if she's a good scientist, she's going to test the new information. Isn't she? She can touch it again because she touched it a minute ago, nothing bad happened. Now this person she's very attuned to is telling her not to. So now she's got to get more information before she can make a valid choice. So she touches it again. Maybe even puts it in her mouth. Now what's mom do? Right, because to mom it looks like Chloe's just ignoring her. But she's not. She's discovering. She's investigating. Just making my point. Thank you. Do you?
If I open it up, it'll answer it.
Oh, don't open it. Please include the ringing sound. Okay. So now, what's mom going to do? She's going to have to escalate, right? She's going to get louder, or she's going to go take it away, or she's going to pat her hand somehow. It's over. Okay.
Which is just what I wanted to do.
Pat his hand.
Take it away. Sorry.
He's actually really perfect. It fits right in. Okay, so now that mom has escalated, Chloe doesn't just have information. She has an emotional response. Now it's making more of an impact, this whole yellow deal. Eventually she is going to decide, like I heard somebody say, that yellow is bad or something bad will happen to her around yellow. Still innocent, doesn't know that that's happening. Fast forward 25 years. Chloe's having a glass of wine with her girlfriend and she's crying because the second relationship this year has ended. And she's saying, I don't know what's the matter with me. Something's really wrong with me. I really thought this guy was the guy. He's so cute, he's so nice. I know he likes me. Oh, I had him over for dinner the other night. I fixed his favorite meal. And he was so sweet. He came in his brand new yellow sweater and he brought me daffodils. And from the moment he got there, I just kept getting more and more uncomfortable. Then he went to hug me and I was like, don't touch me. I'm such a freak. What is the matter with me? Is she still innocent? You bet. She has no idea what's going on. How about the guy? How confused is he? All I did was get dressed up and bring flowers, and she freaked out. I don't know what happened.
At some point then, does the baby then go, she's a liar? You know, where she loses faith in mom because mom has told her something and she's finding out for herself that it's not true.
That could happen.
Or she'll test and understand that it was a she'll play
Yeah.
around with it.
At some point, if she works with it, if she gets to, we're going to talk about that exact thing in a little bit. Thank you for the question. More likely, what happens more often is that we stop testing. Somebody says something and we just believe it, including our own thoughts. Our own thoughts say something and we don't question it. It's just the truth. I didn't like it. So here's how it works. We have a thought. A belief is just a thought that has been thought long enough to seem true. We know the rules of rooms, so it can't be a trapezoid. I'm changing it back. And then those beliefs tell us how to perceive the world. So what do you see up there above the word perceptions?
Two faces.
Who saw a goblet or a chess piece first?
I saw the chess piece.
Who saw the silhouettes facing each other?
I saw the second one.
Can you now see both? Raise your hand if you can see both now. Okay, that first perception is a fast-thinking phenomenon. Then if we look further, we see more. Then our perceptions they come complete with emotions. And then our emotions propel us into action, non-action, or behavior. So I do a lot of work with teenagers. I volunteer at high schools to teach teenagers how to be happy on purpose. I think that'll have something to do with them being happy. I say, remember in high school, you guys right here in this room right now, remember in high school between classes, a lot of high school happened between classes, right? Right? So there's kids coming this way and kids going this way. And so I say to the teenagers, what if you see somebody coming the other way and you make eye contact with them and you wave and smile and they just look at you and walk right on by and they don't do anything? What's your first thought?
They're blowing you off.
They're blowing you off. They don't like me. What else? What?
What did I do to deserve
What did I do to deserve that? They're a snob. You hear the first ones? Okay.
Yeah.
So I say to them, let's shop around a little bit. Let's look around for 3 other reasons why they may not have waved back. Okay, so what are 3 other reasons? Pardon? Didn't see you.
Looking past you.
Looking past you.
They're legally blind.
Preoccupied.
Preoccupied. Maybe they're having a test coming up, or maybe they just broke up with their girlfriend or boyfriend. Yes? Teenage boys say they were probably farting. Because you can't do anything else while you're doing that. But okay, now, if we buy the first one, what did I do to deserve that? They're blowing me off. They're stupid. What are our future actions going to look like? They're going to be correlated to that perception. Whereas if we stop, look around a little bit, now we have more options in terms of how we can act next time. Maybe we buy the perception they're just having a bad day, so the next time we go hug them, which is very different than if they blew us off, we're not gonna. So in that moment, I actually told the kids, you could throw away that first thought. Just throw it away. You didn't do it. It happened too fast. And this woman, well, I call her a woman, she's 16. Her name was Rachel, and she said, hold on, Leslie. You mean to tell me that when I'm walking down the hall and I think to myself, who dressed her today? She looks hideous. That I should just throw that away? I said, yep. Because you didn't do it. It was your fast thinking, making these associations and giving you that reality. And she started crying. She said, I can't thank you enough for coming here. I'm so relieved right now. She says, you know, I know I'm supposed to have a positive attitude. I know I'm supposed to think good thoughts. And I really try. But sometimes I just have those judgmental thoughts. And it makes me feel really bad about myself. I said, throw it away. You didn't do it. Then our actions and behavior give us our things, and the whole loop repeats itself. We're gonna do an exercise. This is I want you to have a visceral demonstration. By the way, my commitment is not that you get new information today or not that you're happy for an hour and a half. My commitment is that you get stuff that you can take in your life and use it so that you can actually be happy on purpose. Because when we get to the purpose part, we'll see again how your happiness affects the world. I'm going to say a word and you're going to get an image. Easy. Ready? Lion. Okay, what'd you see? Mufasa. What else? What'd you see? I cannot hear you.
A male lion.
A male lion. There's Mufasa. There's the male lion. There's Wizard of Oz. Okay. How fast? How fast? Instantly. Did you decide to see Mufasa? Nope. That's the way his brain was wired. Should we hold him accountable for seeing Mufasa instead of the Narnia lion? Should we make judgments about him about that? Okay, good to know. We're going to do it again. This time I'm going to say a phrase. And you're going to get an image. And the phrase is, Anne approached the bank. Anne approached the bank. What did you see?
A burglar.
A burglar. Okay.
I thought you said a van approached the bank, and I had a different.
What did you see?
A van approaching a bank.
Anybody see a riverbank? A snowbank? Anybody see Anne? Okay, did you notice Anne was fully clothed and you knew what color her hair was and everything? The details, oh my gosh, and how fast did that happen? Instantly. Now, if you spend a lot of time outdoors, your fast thinking would associate with the riverbank before it associated with the bank building. That's how it works. So when we give it new associations, it starts working for us. And our happiness increases and increases and increases. So the thing we want to remember most about our fast thinking is that we have no awareness that it's happening. That it's happening without us. There's no sensation to signal anything at all, and that we get a picture that seems like reality. And then we say, I thought that. But we didn't. We're going to do an exercise. This is an individual exercise, so if you just put your feet on the floor, take stuff out of your hands. In a minute, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and count your thoughts. Remember I said we had 65,000 a day? We're just going to take a few seconds to increase our awareness of our own thoughts. And they're kind of tricky sometimes. You got to like pretend like you're a cat at a mouse hole to see them, because sometimes they happen pretty fast. And you might have thoughts like, wow, I just said that was one thought. Is that a thought? Do I need to count that too? And sometimes you'll just have one thought after the other, and then you go, oh, shoot, I forgot to count. There's no right way to do this. It's not a test. Okay? So, all right. Go ahead and close your eyes. And begin counting your thoughts. Great, thank you. You can open your eyes. How many? No idea, lost track? Guys?
5.
5?
You know, which is an independent, different thought. I mean, all this.
Exactly. A lot of activity happening, yes? The point of this exercise is for us to begin to embrace the distinction between awareness and the brain activity that we're aware of. We are not that brain activity. We are the awareness of the brain activity. We have thoughts, but we are not the thoughts. There's something we have. But we have the capacity to observe them, and because we have the capacity to observe them, we can do different things with them. This distinction is really critical to being happy on purpose. Just like because of the story I told about Rachel, when she thought she was her thoughts, she wasn't happy. And when she found out she wasn't, then she could just leave the ones she didn't want and keep the ones she did. The more we look at something, the more we see. So the more we looked at this phenomenon of me not liking it, the more we saw. The more we looked at the silhouettes and the goblet, the more we saw. Get your fast thinking brains ready. What do you see? What?
Duck and a rabbit.
Okay, who saw a duck first? Aha. Who saw a rabbit first? Who? Raise your hand if you can see both now. The rabbit's nose is over here. It's facing that way, and its ears are laying down behind it.
Yeah, okay, I can.
It's that moment right there, oh, I see it now. That's in the 3%. That's in the new thoughts. That's the, I thought it was this, but now I see it's that. I thought she didn't like it. Now I see it was her solar plexus relaxing. That's what her face looks like. Imagine if we applied this to our relationships. If we actually looked for more information before we decided what reality was. Ready? We're going to do it one more time. Who's hugging who?
He's reading the paper, she's hugging him. He's reading the paper, and she's hugging him.
They're hugging each other.
Oh, wait a minute. I still think it's him sitting or
Okay, this is his hand.
Okay, then he's sitting.
Yeah, they're hugging each other.
Does it go sort of back and forth?
Yeah, it does.
Did you see how much you actually had to concentrate to get the actual information necessary? Imagine if we applied that to communication.
Now if you imagine him with those tiny arms and that shirt, it looks silly.
Even though in the beginning it might have looked pretty normal. So when our fast thinking does what it does, in its editing process, it gives us a picture of reality which is literally only a peephole because it's left so much of reality out. So many other possibilities that it could be, it leaves them out so that it just gives us our picture to deal with. Our job, if we want to be happy on purpose, is to open up that peephole, get more possibilities, find out more about what reality is. Otherwise, we could end up like Spock.
Sing it?
And if Spock can end up like that, where do you think that leaves us as mere mortals? Yep. But it turns out that this, believe it or not, is the missing piece. The minute we ask this question, where's the focus? You knew that's what I meant by that, right? See, if we keep asking where's the focus, we never get like this. Because that fast brain, that fast thinking is simply waiting for us to tell it what the goal is. What does success look like? What's our priorities? Who do I want to be today? I wake up in the morning and I decide how I'm going to happen to life. Today, I'm going to be generous. Tomorrow, it might be I'm going to be peaceful. We get to set our fast brain's GPS. And just like when we looked for red, it will find it for us. It's an amazing system once we take control of it again. We were innocent. All the associations, all the first thoughts right now, they are not our doing. But we do have an opportunity to tell it what we're looking for. It's the most amazing thing. So for instance, if I stub my toe, if you stub your toe, where's all your focus go? To your toe. 99.9% of your body is not stubbed.
I have a question. Prejudice and racism and everything like that, the beginning of them or the origin of them would not have been your intention, but at what point do you choose and then you're responsible for those particular negative? When does that happen?
Well,
especially
sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Deciding to be happy on purpose would have it happen. Because we don't do well. We don't feel good in those states of being. And I'm going to show you a little excerpt from a documentary in a minute about that. Because we're not designed to feel separate and at odds and antagonistic. Happiness is natural to us. Connection, communication, that's how we're built. Okay? There's a prison in Norway right now that is using these scientific principles of happy on purpose and the innocence of our fast thinking on the prisoners. And oh my gosh, you should YouTube it and get the facts, because their recidivism rate, the number of people who return to prison, is 16%.
Wow.
United States, 87.
Yeah.
Rest of Europe, 83. Once these prisoners find, and they're normal, they're like felons, murderers, those kind of things. Once they realize that they have fast thinking and they have an opportunity to bring slow thinking to it, everything changes for them. Anyway, it's a good question. And setting your sights on being happy, it works for the teenagers. It alleviates that. For some reason, they're not quite sure of, but that's what it does. Okay, which brings us to the art of being happy on purpose. And the art, remember I said it has to do with our ability to imagine and to vision. Viktor Frankl wrote, between stimulus and response there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and freedom. So we've done it a couple of times in here. We took the space to find out why they didn't wave back at us in the hall. We took the space to find out when we take that space, we come up with a new reality. This man's name is Roger Bannister. In the early 50s, late 40s, early 50s, he was a runner. He traveled all around the world running. And then he hit a losing streak, and he couldn't win a race. He was really seriously considering quitting. But before he did, he took himself out of life, so to speak, for 30 days. He just took himself away for 30 days. And when he came back, he didn't just say, watch me, I'm going to win races. He said, watch me. I'm going to be the first man to run a mile under 4 minutes. And he got feedback from both directions. Oh, go Roger, you can do it. You can't do that. We have maxed out. A human being can't run that fast. And look at you, you're a loser. How do you think you're going to run that fast? But then in September, I think it was September of 1952, he ran a mile in 3 minutes, 58 and 4/10 seconds. No? Yes? That's what he did. So the whole world was like, what? Not only did he do it, but he said he was going to do it before he did it. So they started interviewing him. How'd you do that, Roger? What happened to you in that 30 days? This is how he describes it. He said, I saw myself after the race was already won. I felt the tape on my chest, and I looked up at the clock, and the first number was a 3. I saw myself lighting the torch at the Olympics, which he ended up doing. I saw myself in newspaper articles. This is a phenomenon that has amazing power. Remember I said that we are reality-producing machines? If we visualize, I call it feelize to realize. If we put ourselves out in the future where the thing that we want has already happened, our biology conforms. They've proven it over and over with elite athletes. The way that Roger describes that race is that he was one with nature, that his body was doing what his body knew how to do to win the race, and he wasn't really involved. He said he felt like he was floating. Here's the kicker for me. In the year after Roger did that, 17 other people did it. Something that we couldn't do. And then the year after that, 300, and now we just run 4-minute miles. I'm hoping that you are all Roger Bannisters. That you decide to be happy on purpose, and that opens the door for other people to do the same. What he proved was that happiness isn't a crop that you harvest when your dreams come true. It's more like the fertilizer that makes them come true faster. What we humans can conceive of and believe in, we receive. With a little part in there called action. Before we leave the science section and get on to the purpose section, I'm going to go quick backward review to, you're going to see an actual brain now while it's doing what I've been talking about, wiring and unwiring. The most amazing scientific discovery of this era is that we are perpetually and always forever rewiring ourselves. Some of you might remember when they told us that everything was done before we were 5. We were imprinted. Too bad, whatever you got before you were 5, you're just going to have to live with it for the rest of your life. I used to get so mad at them when they'd say that, because I go, that cannot be true. I do not want that to be true. And now they're saying that's not true. That we are constantly rewiring ourselves, which starts to answer your questions about, isn't there a point where you change what got wired in? And yes, you do. 90-year-olds learning to play the piano, everything from now until the end, we are malleable. We are not a fixed phenomenon. That's why it's important, that distinction we talked about, being aware of the brain activity, but not being the brain activity. We are malleable. We are not fixed things. There is no such thing as you, like a solid, unchangeable thing. So, Joe Dispenza is going to show us the brain. It's just an excerpt. He uses as an example compassion for his mother-in-law. Okay? What you're about to see is the thing that got me through a really, really long bump in my road. Because it's so inspiring what we can do.
You make a new synaptic connection in your thinking
So that's a brain.
That's what learning is. Learning is forging new connections. And every time you learn something new, your brain physically changes. The principle in neuroscience says this: nerve cells that fire together wire together. And as you begin to learn new information, you biologically wire that information. The moment those neurons string into place, the brain releases a chemical, and that chemical is called a feeling or an emotion. Your body is your unconscious mind. It does not know the difference between the actual experience in reality that produces the emotion and the emotion that you fabricate by thought alone. To the body, it believes it's in that experience. So the moment the limbic brain begins to make blend of neuropeptides, it begins to signal the hormonal centers, and you get a rush of energy to prepare you for this event, real or imagined. Now there's a very, very unique shuffle that kind of goes on microscopically between different circuits in your brain.
Okay, you're about to see a miracle. So I gotta make sure that that fast brain is paying attention. So start tapping on your head and say, wake up, we're about to see something really good. Okay, that's how you do it. Now, if any of you have ever done EFT, you know this is a technique, right? It wakes up your brain.
You're trying to fire this new thought called compassion. But remember, you fired and wired all these other circuits based on the last 10 years. So as you're beginning to fire this new thought, all these other thoughts are saying, you hate your mother-in-law, you don't want to go to that dinner, why don't you start tomorrow? This isn't a good time to do this. But if you persist with a certain amount of amplitude, and you put your attention behind that thought, sooner or later, that thought will be the strongest and loudest voice in your head. Now, the moment that becomes the loudest voice in your head, the brain has to seal that circuit more permanently. So when the action potential is firing down the neuron from the presynaptic cleft to the postsynaptic cleft, there's a glue that seals the circuit called neural growth factor, and it travels in the opposite direction. But there's only a certain amount of that neural growth factor to go around. So it starts to steal the glue from the neighboring circuits. And when that happens, there goes your memory of your mother-in-law hurting your feelings 10 years ago. There goes the thought that you hate her. There goes the impatience. There goes the intolerance. And the only signal now that's traveling to that neuron is called compassion.
Ta-da!
Now, every
Isn't that
place
amazing?
where one neuron connects with another neuron is a memory. When this happens, you begin to biologically and neurologically prune away the old memory of the old self. And this is the science of changing your mind. If you want to see what it looks like in real time, let's try that again. You want to see what it looks like in real time, unhooking from the old self, reconnecting to the new self. This can happen in moments.
Is that so fantastic? That's how I got happy. I rewired my brain. It's that easy. If you want to have a new skill, he wanted to have the skill of compassion. Maybe you want to be more confident. Maybe you want to be happier. That's how it's done. Though, is it really 10 after 1? Stop what's happening here. All right. We have 20 more minutes, yes? Should I quick review again? And so, proactively, we can interrupt. We can actually pre-interrupt fast thinking. This is Jessica. This is her morning meditation. This is how she tells her fast brain.
Now, my whole house is great. I can do anything good. I like my school. I like anything. I like my dad. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I like my Allisons. I like my mom. I like my sisters. I like my dad. I like my hair. I like my haircuts. I like my pajamas. I like my stuff. I like my rooms. I like my whole house. My whole house is great. I can do anything.
please. Because if we get our body physically involved, we rewire our fast thinking faster, okay? So this is all that's required in this exercise is to move. Move your arms, move as much as you feel comfortable with, or even more. And say the words, I like, and then let whatever you feel like come out of there. I like clocks, I like projectors, I like rust-colored shirts. Just, it's only 40 seconds, so just keep moving and say, I like. I like I like turquoise. I like screens. I like pens. I like lights. I like remotes. I like routine jobs. I like deep pockets. I like smiles. I like video cameras. I like scarves. I like chimes. I like this whole room. Yeah. Give it to me. Ah. Good. That's how you do it ahead of time. Okay? Works like magic. Which brings us to purpose. So the Dalai Lama said that our most neglected duty is our duty to be happy. That joy is our most important gift to the world. I'm going to show you some excerpts from a documentary called I Am. It was made by Jim Carrey's producer. He produced Liar Liar, Bruce Almighty, all those things. He was living the dream, this producer. You'll see him, he has long curly hair. He's living in a $7 million mansion in Bel Air with his own movie company. And he was mountain bike riding and he crashed. And he almost severed his hand and he got a concussion. Well, the hand got fixed. It turned out really well, but the concussion didn't go away. And even though he had all the money for all the treatments that you could buy, they couldn't fix it. So 8 months later, he was severely depressed because he was still nauseous, dizzy, in pain, couldn't put two sentences together. He was not a happy man. He sat on the beach, he said, he decided he was going to commit suicide. But first, he's going to make one more movie about how screwed up human beings are. That's what he decided. But when he made the movie, something very different happened. His concussion sickness went away, and he proved that how much we actually do affect each other. So we're going to watch this, if I can get it to the right spot. Okay. Oh, that's right. I have to plug this one in. Hang on. It doesn't do it by itself. Click, click, click. We count your thoughts? Now you can see my desktop. Oh, where is it? Thank you, that was a nice distraction. I loved it.
Lori likes it too.
Yeah. Lori wants to go off
Blacks, Hispanics, whites, sit side by side. During that, they embrace each other, kiss of peace, everything else. You think they'd do that on the street? You think they'd ever embrace in a hotel or a grocery store or anything of that nature? The answer is no, of course not.
Uh-oh.
And this is where you may tell me that I'm not
What's
a
happening?
realist, but if those principals got to walk outside those churches and got to get in those cars.
Can you have your phone ring again?
Call me again.
How about now? Okay then. Huh.
go to that business meeting on Monday, and the people in the business meeting would say, hey, hang on a second, I know we need profit to survive, but we have a different kind of profitability. We have to think about our neighbors, we have to think about our community, how we're adding a value. Now, let's talk about that.
I think it's a wonderful utopian dream, but I don't ever see the reality of it. I just don't see the reality of it, knowing man.
Well, all right.
That's what I've been told my whole life, not just by my father, but by society, that it's utopian to believe in a world where love and compassion enter every aspect of our lives, even our business lives, that it's okay to behave one way on Sunday and another way on Monday, that that's just human nature. Is it possible we've misunderstood human nature? At a place called HeartMath that studied...
Hold on. You guys play this. I'm going to keep talking while they see if they can get there, okay? Turns out that we can actually measure my heartbeat being picked up by your brain and your brain. That our hearts put out an electromagnetic field. They can measure it 50 feet from our body at this time. They think it goes farther. So, however illusionarily we look like we're separate, we're actually not. We're affecting each other all the time, energetically. And when your brain picks up my heartbeat, it actually changes you physiologically. In this video, they do that. They put electrodes in a dish of yogurt, and then they have the producer think about things like his lawyer, his agent, his ex-wife, and you watch the yogurt react, even though he's not hooked up to it. You literally watch this gauge measure the yogurt reacting. All right, we're just going to skip it. Okay, we're going to go back to the PowerPoint. And we'll figure it out between now and the next year, okay? If you want to see that, oh, now we don't have PowerPoint either. Yay! Ta-da! No PowerPoint! No PowerPoint! If you want to see that video, in the back of your packet, you don't have to get it now, but there's 2 pages of resources. So everything I've talked about today, it tells you where to find it on the internet, what books to read. Once you decide to be happy, you're going to want to immerse yourself in what there is to find out about that. Okay. In the meantime, look at these pretty little birds. They're Sonic birds. The Dalai Lama said, I don't need any fancy, complicated philosophies. Our own brain, our own heart is our temple. And everything we have, everything we need to be happy, there we go. Thanks, ladies. Everything we need to be happy, we already have. We just didn't know we had it. You all know how to shop, right? Yes, not. Yes, we know how to shop. You guys know how to shop too. Did you buy a drill? Did you ever buy a drill?
Once.
That was enough, right? But when you went to buy that drill, didn't you pick up different ones and see if they would do the job that you wanted them to do and see how much they cost and all of that? Did you ever pick out a tomato?
Yeah, these ones are kind of wrinkly though.
Yeah, makes my point. Wrinkly tomatoes we don't like to buy. We look for the firm ones that smell good. We take them home, put them in our salad, yes? Do we ever argue with the tomatoes we don't want?
So mine's at the salad bar.
Put another way, when you go to a buffet and they have roast beef, chicken, and fish, and let's say you pick the chicken, do you then stand at the buffet and call over the restaurant manager and say, excuse me, I want chicken, and you have roast beef on your buffet. Please get rid of this roast beef. What's the restaurant manager going to say? No, just go eat your chicken. No, but you don't understand. You have roast beef. We have to deal with the roast beef first before I can enjoy my chicken. We don't do that, except with our thoughts. You do not have to get rid of the thoughts you don't want before you have the ones you do. You simply have to leave them alone and go get the ones you want. It's so much easier. First law of physics, remember, what you give energy to increases? Don't give them anything. Those negative thoughts, they're not going to hurt you unless you buy them. Leave them alone. That's the best part. That's the best news ever. You really don't have to go where you don't want to be to get where you want to go. You can go directly. So happiness is an option, a habit, a skill, and finally it's a state of being that we elicit and maintain ourselves. Bees, turns out there's about 3,000 different kinds. Some of them like purple flowers, some like white flowers, some like yellow flowers. And you know the thing about bees is they go for the sweetness. They're drawn naturally to certain things, and they go and do that, and then they go and make honey. You're drawn to certain things naturally. Each one of us are drawn to certain things naturally. Not all the same things, right? What the bee probably doesn't think about is that while it's doing its thing, it's perpetuating life on this planet. It's fulfilling a much larger purpose than itself by cross-pollinating the world. What if you going toward what is sweet for you, what you love, whether it's crocheting or public speaking or being a nurse or whatever it is for you, if you do the thing that makes you happy, you're fulfilling your purpose. There is no right thing to do. There's the thing that's yours. And you can do it with any kind of emotions you want. There's no right emotion to have either. My advice is to never give up. Being happy on purpose is like when we learned to walk. We knew we could, but sometimes we fell down, and we just get back up. And if you do that with this, pretty soon you'll find yourself in a whole, well, a wonderful experience of life. When nothing is certain, everything is possible. That's why you got a prize. Remember the moment you said, I don't know, I could be wrong? That's the moment. The I don't know moment is the opening to possibility. How much have we avoided not knowing? Don't we love to know? Don't we feel kind of safe and better when we know for sure? But that's the opposite of being happy. Being happy has to do with, I wonder what is really going on here. So it could just be that we are like Dorothy. All we got to do is click our heels 3 times. They're red. Red. And so now I want to invite you into action. And it doesn't matter what action. If you want to say, do that exercise I talked about, what went well today, every night before you go to bed, please write that down. We have some cards we pass around. I am doing a 4-part webinar series that further expands what we talked about today, and it's interactive, so you can ask questions, you can bring real life situations to get coaching on. We have daily doses of happiness that you get through the email. We have daily shopping calls where we shop around for new thoughts that we might want to have. There's usually 8 people on those calls. If you're interested in being a happiness coach, you can put that on there too, but there's stuff on the card, but it doesn't have to be anything on the card. You could decide you wanted to form a Happy on Purpose group that meets once a week so that you can say ta-da together and feel good, or you can say yes, or you can read like a book called The Happiness Advantage. my invitation, is that you actually put it into action somehow. The thing is, you can't forget any of this today because I am always subversive in my communications. So everything we did today is scientifically designed to have your fast brain get a new association.